Hey Homeworthy, I'm Robert, and welcome to my home here in Dallas, Texas. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
My name is Robert Bellamy, and I'm here in Dallas, Texas, about 5 minutes from downtown. And I've lived on this property for almost 40 years. The new house I built here is something that I built from the ground up. I've always wanted a more open, loft-like space. And it started with me and myself that does CAD design for me for landscape design, putting the shape on paper, and we designed it around these warehouse windows that are here. And it was kind of like taking a deck of cards and putting the windows in the space they needed to go and making the house just a long, skinny 20 by 60 foot townhome, but making the windows be a special part of it because I could open my view to the yard that I've had here for over 40 years. So it's worked out well, and slowly I filled it up with more art so it didn't look like a big open cube. I've always had 3 properties here, and what I had was almost an acre. When they started building the townhomes in this area, I realized, wow, I better cash in. And I was renting an office down the block, so I created this new house so it could be part office and just kind of a big grown-up house for me to live in. And the house that I started out living in was just a garage with a garage apartment at the tail end of the property, but I made out of a lot of scraps and also a big stained glass window. So I've shrunken it to a little bit more than a half an acre, and luckily kept the good parts of my garden and even reintroduced some of the old plants and stuff I had on the lot that I sold here to make the garden more full. And it's been the best of both worlds. I'm walking in my front door, and one of the things I love most about this area is this fountain that I made, which was a piece I bought in India when I was importing some stuff. It wasn't meant to be a fountain. I plugged it up, it kind of like a Madonna holding something, and I placed it right in this window. And it's incredible to me because, number one, when I walk in, I see water first, very good feng shui. And when I'm upstairs looking down at night and come down, this window frames and is lit from the upstairs. And it's just incredible, something I never considered would happen, that it just shines and it just is so peaceful. So I'm loving the fact that there's water happening that way. So then luckily when I walk through the living room, I've got everything kind of just here. And it's so many things that I've made. Like I had a broken tile mosaic business, and I ended up making this table with barometer somebody had given me. Never thought I could have it anywhere or outside, but it became my coffee table here. And I have a lot of art stuff I like to have around too. I mean, I do love this little alligator because it was made by someone that's an artist that takes twigs and then makes the finished pieces out of clay. She is amazing. So he's fun to play with when I've got different arrangements going. And here's a window I was referring to that leans out towards the yard, that kind of embraces the yard and folds you into it. And I twisted the angle of it and ran it down so the yard kind of unfolded in front of me. And the glass makes a big difference here, which is really nice. Since this window kind of cants out this way, I kind of put some collected pieces in here because it's kind of an outdoor showcase. This is a tiled ball or made out of ceramics that I'd had in the yard for years that I put in here. Here's a piece that I bought from an artist in Spain. He called it his bone Eiffel Tower. I didn't know where to put it. I put it down here. Luckily, the dogs don't try to eat it. And the column is something, because I collect architectural pieces, but I got this wonderful grackle painting, which I adore, because they're really big, menacing birds in Dallas, and he looked perfect. I put him on there. He hadn't moved for a minute. So different artists that I've collected. This is a drawing that someone did of a Giorgio de Chirico painting that's a famous one, but he did a copy of it when it was in the gallery back in the 30s. And this is an artist called Valton Tyler, that's a Dallas artist, who does these strange kind of amorphic, kind of mechanical looking drawings and paintings, excuse me. I have 3 of his paintings. I really enjoy him. He's a little nuts, which is fun. When we built this, we wondered what we wanted to do with the floors. I just wanted concrete floors, like I lived in a warehouse. And we just scored them lightly, and there was a question about staining them. I went, through the sands of time, they're going to get stained and be themselves anyway. And I'm thrilled to have them, because it's kind of a small palette. The color in here and the color of the concrete floors, it works really well for me. And it's really about the carpets, that stay in here and help, the little rugs really pull it together. Over here, I have never had a good indoor fireplace, and I'm loving this. I'm a big scrap finder. From an old boneyard, I got these big pieces of granite that were rounded, and I was able to make the fireplace mantle out of those, framing it. And it just works. It draws like nobody's business. It's the best. And because of that, we really needed a powerful painting in here. And this fellow is Barnaby Fitzgerald, who was actually a painter and also a teacher at SMU. He just recently retired, and he does very unusual pieces. There's lots of activity going on in here, but I like activity in my house, and I really enjoy the color. I think it makes people really engaged. I started out going to school just at a Bachelor of Fine Arts, kind of in printmaking. I just knew I wanted to get out of school, but I didn't want to be an artist. But I'd always loved architecture. And in my age of being 17 and 18, I started working at nurseries a lot, and realizing that the more I worked in nurseries, the more I liked outdoor spaces and plant material, which I was getting very familiar with. And then because of that, I took some drafting classes, considering my style of doing architectural design fell into place with my etchings and such that I did. So luckily at 25, I sort of was a glorified yard boy for people that I'd known when I'd grown up here in Dallas. And I've had lots of brothers, and people would refer me to do work. And by the time I'd done it for about 5 or 6 years, I'd started a small company and kept doing it from then on pretty much. And it's residential landscape design. And I install parts of it, and I contract a lot out, and I like building architectural features. So that to me is the most fun, is building things and making them look like the houses that they're supposed to live with, not look like they came out of left field. So I'm a lucky guy. I knew what I wanted to do and stuck with it. I like a sense of surprise in a landscape. I like it when something happens around the corner that somebody maybe would not have thought of. And I also kind of like a sense of humor when that can happen. So it's why people call me, I think, because of my landscapes are kind of a little off base, off tilt, wander a bit, if you will, and kind of are surprising gardens. And that makes me happy. Walking from the windows, the dining room's kind of the center of the house in here, just because of the way the door happens. And walking in from outside, I particularly like the fact that this painting is here. Somebody that I knew and we even went to high school with, that it's like a landscape, that like a window to the outside. I find that works really well, because conversely, I've got a really large door here made of glass and metal that I had made for another building. And I wanted this because I didn't want more view outside. I just wanted the texture of the glass and the heaviness for this room. So you open that up and you get this whole landscape that comes through to that painting. So it's a lot of how the paintings work in this house, which make me very happy too. I was just at this little shop called Curiosities, and I noticed this mosaic above the door that I bought, and I went, I think that'll fit right above that door where there was a void, and it fit perfectly. And mosaics, it's very organic. I love it. Mosaics is something I've done for so long. It was fun to find a piece that worked really, really well. It sort of grounds the door, so it makes me happy. Yeah, the way I like to host it depends on how people enter my yard. There's a garden door that's right to the left of this that people can come into the yard. I usually do that. So when they come in, they can kind of walk in the yard, and then this door could be usually wide open depending on weather, and walk in here. And I'll just have food on the counter. I'm a very casual person. And if I'm cooking or someone's helping me, there's food laid out on the counter, plenty of wine, everything set up here, and cooking can happen in this small space. Counters are up high because I'm a tall guy, and nobody else can help me do the dishes because it's all about getting up high. And kind of kitchen stuff is everywhere. I like vases a lot, and I can use different things and layer things out with color when I'm here cooking and doing what I enjoy doing a lot. And finally, in a new house, the lighting works well in here, better than my old home where I lived before. So that's kind of the way it goes. It's like everything's here, pots and pans are even scattered that way, and a lot of my entertaining ends up in outdoors and outdoor structures too, because it works well that way. But this has turned out to be really efficient for me. I enjoy it a lot, and you still have a view of the outside, and it really works well. I have a propensity to finding things that are unusual, and this I saw in Chicago, and somebody had made one or two different milk carton things like this, different colors with a composite concrete. It's heavy. I told them, don't sell it, I'm gonna come back tomorrow, I think I have to buy it. And I just have this here. Sometimes you can put a flower in it. It just makes me happy. And almost anybody, especially when I'm entertaining, comes and picks this up and goes, what is this? And oh my gosh, who would have thought of that? I like a sense of humor in art. It makes me really happy. Makes it a little bit more user-friendly, I guess. In the kitchen that I had redone in my little garden house, as I call it, I'd had a lot of chopping block material, so I made chopping block right a part of the kitchen counters, and I immediately missed that here. So I realized I needed a chopping block. I needed something I could move when I needed to scrape things off. I needed something that I could pull around, put cheese and wine on, and serve things from here. And one conversely on the other side that I use when I'm making things. So I'm kind of a busybody when I do things, and having this stuff here that's maneuverable works really well for me. I miss the built-in countertops, but I think this is actually more fun. And they're easy to wash off when you just need to put them in the sink too, so it works pretty well. I had found this painting, which was incredible, at just an antique store, and it was only $150. I couldn't get over it because it's all pots and pans. And it worked out perfectly with the nature of what I like to do. It's kind of like, that would be my kitchen if I lived somewhere in Paris, it looks like. Another table that I did with the little barometers on it, which I built up taller and turned into a bar. So things kind of get formed for what I need because I enjoy reinventing things, and I have the metal people that help do it. On the counter right over here by the door is one of my favorite things because this is always a vignette. I'm always using the fruit and such, but nothing makes me happier than little funny pieces of art like this. Here, I'll move this out. It's, it's a wooden salmon with that. I found it in Marfa, Texas, where I have a little house. And I found this there too. And then once again, an alligator. So I'm always redoing, I'm not redoing, but kind of restyling things in the kitchen because I want it to look good. This is a great vase somebody gave me that holds water, and you can put little flowers in there. So it's all about history and kind of knickknacks. I have to slow down with the knickknacks. I'm going to get too much, I'm afraid. I always knew, the kitchen's blue because I'd been traveling for a while before I built the house in London and somewhere in France, and I like the idea of the blue. I like blues a lot, and I knew I was going to use use the stainless. So I started with just doing this with the blue and some blue underneath the entry, the overhang here. Then I realized, why wouldn't I paint the door that blue? Then a few months later, I'm walking around in the yard and I look and I go, why wouldn't I paint this wall that blue? So it ended up morphing all its way to under the steps, which turned out great. I mean, that's what architecture is sort of about too. The angles, what was coming in, what can be framed. I little by little picked up the walls, how they notched back, and framed it in until it taught me when I looked from outside where it needed to stop and where it needed to start. It just took about 4 months to decide. The architectural style of the house was something that I had seen probably 20, 25 years ago in Mexico City. And it was Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera's kind of their studio or their townhouse in Mexico City. And it was long and skinny with metal windows, small pieces of glass, and you could even walk outside and had walkways on the inside, but it was sort of really created a compound in its area. And I had all these windows, which was the building blocks, as I said, of the house. And so it made me realize a townhome needed to be like 20 feet wide and 60 something feet long. And I thought, wow, that's a good idea. And stucco on the outside also, which matches my old home. So I knew I wanted open space, loft-like, kitchen, everything living downstairs. Upstairs, I've got a small area where 2 people that work for me come in and out, do drafting work and book work, and I'm there too. And then kind of a gallery feeling upstairs, then bathroom, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, and kind of open space on the outside for me too there. So it's a lot better than my original house, which I lived in for about 38 years, which only had a bathtub and no doors, and it was like a loft that I created at the back of the property, but sunken in the ground. You know, what's been fun here in decorating this house has been, it was a little intimidating for me to have these tall walls and open space. And I'm sort of a tall guy, and I made the downstairs a little bit higher than most places. And it seemed a little cold. I have a lot of furniture that I've had forever and pulled in here. But what I realized is I had different artwork that was in my old office, artwork in my smaller house, and then especially I bought some large pieces of art for down in this area that had to warm up the space a lot. And that was really fun to do and a big endeavor. And it sure was fun because I got to do what I liked, and I didn't care what anybody else thought. Now I think we should probably go upstairs because you can see what I'm doing all day long, going up to my office area and coming back down. I'm about 25 times a day. This is going to keep me alive a long time, I think. This is a really neat piece, which you can maybe get from here. It was an interesting grill from a 60s building, the Republic Bank building. And part of it was for sale, and I bought it and made the steps wider so I could float this here because it travels upstairs. And it's really cool. It makes great shadows at night. Plus it's fun to dry things on when you need to. So I come upstairs, and here's the office, kind of as scattered as it would be. Drafting table for the CAD fellow. Here's the office that the guy does all the paperwork and pushes all the buttons that I do not know how to do at all because I'm not electronic. And here's where I sit looking at the window, but also get to kind of roll around and work with Will over here and Colin there, pull back, organize my table too for what I need, what's going on client-wise and drafting things. So it's really comfortable up here. And I'd mentioned how there was a ducting situation, pulling it in the house, and we ended up doing it under this window. And I thought, wow, this is a great place. I can put in a little banquette. I can sit here, hang out, talk to people and work. And then we extended it out to become kind of an art wall that really helped fill up the big void underneath on this wall here. So I like the build outs of this place. It made it kind of a little bit more softer, little bit kind of more loft-like, I think, in certain ways. And put in a bookshelf because I always have books that I refer to constantly when I'm doing landscape designs. I want to pull out textures and ideas and things that feel right. And also, of course, filling in things with funky art. Here's a painting that I have a brother that was an artist that he did when I was 16, and it was in my bedroom when I had it for a long time. Then he took it back to his house, and then I ended up inheriting it for here. It's after a poster of an old Cleopatra movie that was in black and white and silent movie, Theta Bear. It's a really neat painting. My brother's a neat artist. He does unusual things. So just collected materials up here. There's so much that happened in the building of the house that was unusual. I used a builder that I was friends with and worked with before, but the windows were all mine. The glass is a glass fellow I know. The metalwork was someone that I know. So I really relied on people that I've worked with for years, and they helped put together the bones of it. And one of the big major things was we didn't know that the air conditioning wasn't really considered in how the ducting was going to happen. And right up behind me, I don't know if you can see it now, but maybe you will later, there's a whole ledge that has art on it because they had to put a big ducting for air conditioning come around. And I said, well, I don't want that exposed at all. So I went, okay, let's make a ledge. Let's bring it into the office space, make it a bench, and I'll put art on it. So we built around it. And the windows too, the way they hang out, no one really knew how we were going to make it happen. And so I realized that when they were flat, they just looked flat into the yard. So I pushed them. They were always going to be hanging out, but I pushed them to the right so they'd angle into the yard and throw the energy that way. I'm real big on that. And I made everybody come over, bring the windows, set them up, lean them out, prop them up into place, and look at it and realize they knew how to build around it because I didn't architecturally know how to draft that up. And they said, okay, we'll take them down now. I said, keep them up. I want them up for at least 2 weeks. I want everybody to get it. The roofer has to get it. The glass guy has to get it. My metal guy has to get it. I've got to get it, you know. And it really, the windows make this house, which is continually, it shapes my view a lot. I'm really tickled with the way this has worked. Here we are with my bedroom. I wanted a bright color, and it's edgy, but I really still like it. I don't know how long I'll keep it. It may not be too calm, but it is what it is, and I enjoy it a lot. And I have a bedroom that's larger all by itself now and not loft-like my other one was, and was able to use, once again, here's a stained glass window that a friend of mine did years ago, and she's the one that did the stained glass window in my other house. She was an incredible artist. Here's a painting my brother did of me when I was 9. And he did this because it was a stylistic thing he was doing. He was 11 years older than me, and in my house when I was growing up. So that's weird to wake up to here. It was always in my mother's bedroom. And then there's kind of, it's sort of like, it was fun to buy, like, I have an interesting rug. I have 50 pieces that people had given me. I've got this amazing round window that I had to build in. I wanted it to cant in like you're in Paris, like you're in some old loft building, and everybody said to build it out. I said no. So we built it in. It sits there, the water, the rain doesn't get it, and it's an incredible window. And I get to see outside and see the park and leaves, which is incredible for me. And then the bathroom, lo and behold, which is in here, which has a really different color, a different tonality, which kind of makes the two rooms blend together. And this big shower, once again, first time to have an indoor shower in 38 years. I found these pieces of travertine and cut them and put them in the inside of the shower, and was able to use some old tile that I'd found in caustic tile in a warehouse in El Paso 15 years ago. And it's just amazing to have this big room. I like the art in here. It's all funky. I like the blue that looks off into it's kind of like a Legaretto color change, you know, intense color into another intense color. And this is a piece I found at a shop that was closing, and they had wonderful kitchen things, so that was great. And ideally, I have a door right here, which is amazing because you have to have an exit door in case there's a fire or something. So I put in a little balcony, which makes me so happy because, once again, door was at another building I had, so I designed it around it. But I can stand out here in the mornings or whatever and just be drying my hair, and the dog runs out here and I can see the whole yard, which is very cool. And really, no one's is looking at me because I've got evergreen walls all around me. So this bathroom is fun. And it has funky art in it, which I like too. Edgy pieces. It works well. It makes me so happy to see those floating teeth in that. And that reminds me of a scene in Clockwork Orange when he's sitting in the bed and he's going to take a sip of water. And I think he's at his uncle's house and he takes a drink and he looks down and there are teeth in there. And you just go, oh my God. I mean, I remember that being 15 and seeing that. And when I saw this, it made me so happy. I just bought it immediately. I think it's a great painting. So incredible. And you know, art should be fun. And it works well in here. It's lit up well, which is good too. So, and this too, amazing thing. This is an encaustic tile piece I bought from a good friend, Jason Williford in Marfa, where I met, where they had a gallery, and he's a painter, and it was the first encaustic, meaning kind of heavier applied wax painting. But look how it looks on this wall and that color. Did not even mean for it to happen. That's what's fun about having different pieces. You put it somewhere and I go, oh my gosh, that's never looked so good, right? Until I paint that room or something. But anyhow, so I love this place. I love having a big bathroom and a big bedroom. It's a huge change for me, lifestyle-wise, a lot. So there we go. When I built this home, I didn't even think I would put in a front door where the door is. Because I thought I'd come through the garden gate like I was describing and walk in, and then I realized that's crazy. All I do is come and go during the day, and I have the drive right outside in front of where this gate is and my door, and I took what was going to be a window and turned it into a door so I can open my outdoor gate, feel like I'm in a garden, throw the door open, immediately start, you know, putting packages down or whatever, kick my shoes off, go upstairs and work with the guys when they're in the office, and always see the outside. I just wasn't prepared for how much these windows would open me up to the garden, and I'm really lucky that way. Gives me lots of fresh ideas. So here we go, opening up to the outside. One of my other favorite things, and they seem to always be fountains, is this of these transistors that would be on an electrical station. I've always wanted to do that. I finally found somebody that had these old the old brown ones, and did this faucet on it. It makes me very happy. And it makes the birds really happy too, because they like just a little bit of water on their back, which is heavenly. Through the windows, I stare at this a lot, like a zombie stare, sort of. Once again, lots of architectural stuff, can't stop it. And you can move it all around, which I love. You know, he sits here sometimes. Sometimes he's like that. Sometimes there's another flower up there. It's really fun. It's like rearranging outdoor furniture when it's not too heavy. So you walk out and then you kind of walk into the yard, which is interesting. Makes the house kind of more benign and sit down. And the yard has sort of rolling areas in it, which makes it engaging. So really still the main entrance to my yard is here, because everybody's used to coming in garden first. That's the way it always was. Parking is right out here. And this is the main garden gate. So people come in through here, open this up, and you're outside where the parking is, but you really enter into the whole reality of the garden and the compound as such. And you don't focus on house, because house is kind of hidden on the corner. What you walk into what everybody saw for 30 plus years, and my outside area, and it really flows well. So it's more fun to kind of start a party this way than them coming in to my front door, knocking on that small, tiny space, to me. And it functions well. It functions really well. This is a large LED light box that I got from a building downtown that they were doing for their kind of their model unit. And at night it goes through about 5 different colors, and it's on a small rotation, and it's incredible. I can't believe I own it. It wasn't meant to last this long, so I'm always redoing it, I feel like. And the yard I had an old sort of gazebo here, but it was falling by the wayside, so this got modernized by lifting up this art piece here. And the yard just kind of rolls. You know, once again, it's an old yard. I've got an incredible fountain here that I like a lot too. Water everywhere is good energy, I feel. So right in here is probably the first fountain I put in my yard. Also to help distinguish noise, because it's right on the street. And you can see it all through the yard. It's lit up at night, and it's its own environment. And it's an architectural pot that I found somewhere and hadn't worn away by the water on it forever. And now with these trees, it's really stuck away, but very much so. I kind of go around here, and recently I had been to someplace in Newport, Rhode Island, where they had built outdoor rooms, which was one of the most incredible gardens I've ever been to. And this becomes an outdoor room. We might approach it later as I come this way, and gets a little brighter in there. But this is going to be a wall of green. I just put this in about 2 years ago, and it was a good stuck away area of the yard. I could make the room happen, I feel like. And as we go in, I kind of did an entranceway. Once again, like I'm always doing something out of funky pieces, and here's this kind of off-kilter stuff that I like to do that's a little crazier. The outdoor room that I've got here is fun because there's a piece that a client had in their backyard that I got to get because they were moving, and I always loved it. And she's a beautiful shrine here. I've got a little funky outdoor mirror, which I like a lot, and this interesting bench I found. But it is like a contemplative little room, and I really love the fact that I could put a room in testament to these people. And it's kind of fun to sit in here by yourself, especially in the early mornings in the summer, a whole lot. No, I love it here. We're right on the corner of my lot too, which is amazing. So it'll grow in. So here we go. So now when I come out of my new little garden room, I can walk out into the yard, which is really expansive. My house is all the way on the other side, but then we have a lot of garden that's been here a long, long time, and places where I can do architectural pieces. The round boxwoods I dig a whole lot. It seems like there are a lot of round things in my yard lately, but I love that. And little spots of trees and lights and architectural pieces here and there, which I enjoy. So when you're looking around, you see the fact that planted these trees in the middle. They're kind of a little knoll of trees, which really works well. And then we come over here, and here you get to the place which is what I call the garden house now, which was my original house for like 37 years, all the way at the end of the property. And when I first lived here, I had to come in through a gate this way and park on the street, so that was quite a different story. But I built this facade wall with, once again, the glass window from like scraps, and my friend that did the window was incredible, and there were 2 warehouse windows. We did one on top of each other, and now it's kind of turned into a garden around it because it's gotten so much shadier and so much cooler, and I'm not in and out of this house as much. So I've kind of gardened the outside of it a little bit more, and it rolls into the place where was a patio off of this garden where I would often entertain and just sit outside when I just first had my lot here. And I've been planting extra trees because we've really had hot summers to give us some shade and relief during the summertime. So same thing, you know, architectural pieces, you know, petrified wood, something that I bought from different people. This thing too, petrified wood. It's all fun. When I built the house I was really into early, broken tile stuff, so I molded this around the door as sort of a frame and put in the broken tile, and even did the funny thing with the little sailboats and did a motif. Young and a little hokey at that point, but still fun, and it works. Well, for outdoor living here, what really happened, my original house that I lived in for so long was so small that I started building structures on the outside with just residue landscape material and stones and other kind of found objects. And I built an outdoor dining space, then a covered space where I did kind of the tile work, and then sort of a studio, and now that studio's evolved into being an outdoor kitchen because I'm not doing the tile work anymore. So my living is really outside, and it's outside with these structures, and the house folds to the outside very well visually, and people come in and out. But when I've got a lot of people over, we're sort of outside oriented, where you can sit outside, be in undercover, and wander in these rooms that I built out of all, frankly, just broken stone materials and other architectural pieces I've collected. So here we are in the funky little garden house. Cool thing about this place, it's in 3 levels. One is a level now that I'm letting a friend of mine use as her art studio because she just moved to Dallas. So I cleaned all my furniture out, and she has her artwork going in here. And this way, there's something going on in the house. I don't like no energy in spaces, so that bothers me. But what's the same is a small kitchen area, which was tiny, obviously. And look how tall the ceiling is for the upstairs. So it really was a cozy space, and about 6 years ago I opened it all up and had this work as a kitchen, which works out a lot better because everyone always wanted to hang in here, and a lot of industrial stuff was behind it. So really, when I lived here, I was sitting here looking outside all the time, which I loved, but it wasn't enough outside compared to what I have now, which is amazing. And this house has gotten darker. And the other amazing thing that I've talked about a few times before is this window, which my friend Judy DeSanders did. And it's just killer because I knew that the whole room would focus about this. This whole wall was made out of scrap materials, stone on the outside and inside. And these were 2 warehouse windows that I had purchased, and I had some glass, and she just did the rest. And when you think about it, almost 40 years ago, people weren't using wine goblet stems, prisms, and stuff in windows. And in the winter, when the light's out there, you can see prisms dancing on the floor. And I built the staircase. It came in 3 parts. It had to come through the window, landing, step here, and railing. So it's kind of seen its test of time. But what's cool is the whole house was an open air loft. So bedroom upstairs, a little bathroom upstairs, and then, sunken living room. And so it was tiny, but it was fun. We had a good time entertaining here. And these are easier steps to come up and down. And you still get a view from outside, which is nice. And the bedrooms, it's cozy. It's cozy up here. And once again, all open. Not a closed door in the joint, except for, of course, the closet doors. So it's a pretty open air way of living, with the bathroom all exposed here. And there's the tub. That's all I had for a long time, European style with a wand. But it's fun. It's fun to sleep in here. Now I feel like I'm sleeping in a tree house. Before it was just reality house. But I love the stonework. It's one thing I don't have in the new house, any visual stonework inside. But I've done some other structures outside that are made of stone, so it works. And once again, Judy that did that window, this is one of the earlier stained glass windows she did. She did the one inside of my bedroom too that I hang there. It's called Mechanical Madonna and Child. You can kind of see the little transistors. It's sort of like the Jetsons, right? Some of it's broken and cracked from the sands of time, but it's a pretty amazing window for somebody that was doing something like this in the early 70s. I was lucky to have a good friend like that. So it's still a wonderful space. The soul of my house is when you open the gate and you're in the middle of a downtown area, which is now surrounded by townhomes. It's the word oasis always comes up. You're surrounded by green everywhere. I made the land kind of more rolling with soft berms. I've got architectural pieces in the land. So you kind of want to walk through the gate and walk to the left or walk to the right or just keep going. And 30 to 40 years can really help make a garden too. And because of that, you're lost to the outside. Even with the townhomes now, you don't really get the fact that you're in the middle of town and you're looking at sky and texture rather than looking at your surroundings and old trees. From the history of time, having my small house, wanting to be outside, this was the outside patio. Here's the outside fountain. This is where I always hung out and talked. Then after 10 years, I bought the piece of property that I'm walking up to and built an outdoor structure because I'd been to Guatemala and I'd been to the south of France and realized how people have open air seating. My house inside was too small for a big dining area, so I built this open air dining area, which I've used forever, and it's really a great gathering place. When you talked about hosting and thinking about that, this is where people walk in and come to. It's a great place to gather, cozy, sit down. We'll walk into another little room where I have a bar. I've got the outdoor tile fireplace that I'm very proud of having. One of the first outdoor fireplaces I'd seen around Dallas. And it's sunken in too. I like building things that are sort of sunken in. It wraps around us. So from that room came this small room that stopped right here. And it was really kind of my little tile workshop for a while, because behind here I had stuff I used for my business. But this turned out to be a great place, and eventually it's worked out to where it's the bar. If somebody comes in, they can come in here, liquor set up, this full of ice, wine, an old chopping block I got from an old, a grocery store in Dallas. Doors I got when I went to India. Lots of things migrated into this room because of the nature of the beast. And once again, it's all built out of, just fragmented stone material. And even funny things like this on the wall is something that I made when it was cold and my guys were here and we didn't have anything to do. I had them put the rock in and do tile stuff because I couldn't get enough of it. Plus it freaks people out because of the doll's hands, which is what I love. So now we walk into another room, which is an outdoor kitchen now. When I got this other piece of property, I cut this out and put in a door here. And then I built this into what was a studio space to use for outdoor dining and for tile work. Just recently, in the past year, I cut a wall out here. I got these windows from a house that was from an architect, a really good friend of my brother's. They were tearing part of it down and reoriented the skylight because this old room kind of leaked a little bit because it only had a metal ceiling, so now it's airtight. And I've turned it into really an outdoor dining area, which I use a lot. Starting now is when it all kind of comes together. And a lot of this has been pieced together by old casement windows, things pulled together. Over here is where my washer dryer used to be from the old house. So I realized, I've got a little heater on demand. I've got cold water. So this works out as a kitchen, obviously. There was an old armoire I had that was made out of this neat green material. We cut it up and built a kitchen counter. All that kind of morphed out. Then I was lucky enough to put in an outdoor wood burning oven, which I'm just learning on how to use. And friends come over and help me with that because it's a tight one. But you can see the little mosaic pieces that were all over this room that were here. This room's been here 25 years. I opened up this window so it can crank up and you can service from a patio outside. This has turned out to be a really good entertaining space. A niece of mine just got married here like 2.5 weeks ago, and she's and her husband are 25, and it was perfect. It worked out great, perfect for entertaining. They didn't cook in here; it was too hot, but they did use this as a bar instead. And this room kind of flows into how it all functions. Where it used to be sort of a dead end, now I put a door here that goes to where I work from, where my crew comes in and out of. But sitting here, I can put an extension on this table. There can be 12 people eating in here, which is really pretty great. And the new windows and the light and knocking this door out has made it a totally different space, which I love. And it also kind of is funny. It showed up the little things I had in corners that were tile pieces, so it kind of flanks it. It gets a little grotto-like, I think, as you go. And this door I go in and out of all the time because it's fun. I can store plants and stuff in here. And this is a big, giant plant room that I put in also about 20 years ago and added on, cutting out some windows here and coming in and finally putting in a heater and even a water weathering thing to cool off the room or give moisture, and turned it actually into kind of like a small little greenhouse, which is working pretty well. Because before it got really hot in here, and I've got birds everywhere. There's some canaries here, but this room's neat. It's neat at night, and it has a good feeling. And the energy of this being open and that whole space being open, it's much more airtight because I put on a better roof, and I made it into really an outdoor room. So now I can have my stone back. I can entertain out here in the stone kind of kitchen here, and not have to worry about it being necessarily inside my house, which is fine too. It's all about wandering the space here and there. Another neat piece that somebody gave me from Marfa, and it was just this round wooden piece of just kind of thing with holes, and I built it sideways so I can store wine in here. I haven't brought it back. So everything that hangs around kind of ends up with a purpose, which is really kind of wonderful. And the light is really nice in here too, so it's pretty special. It's great for me. It's really great. This has become a really cool outdoor living, working space. And I just need to get the wood burning stove down better. I have friends come over. I haven't quite gotten it down to my own satisfaction. I cook some stuff in it, but it's getting better all the time. It's only been 1.5 years that I've gotten that in there, so it's a new deal. This will be the telling time. Otherwise, summer it's just too hot, obviously. So it's a cool place. It's a very cool place. Really lucky to have this. You know, frankly, home is here that it's really warm with all the things I like. I immediately go to the kitchen. I like to cook, get something out to eat lunch here, hang out, sit down, can have coffee, sit in one of the chairs, look out the window. It's just having all my stuff around me. And a lot of this stuff I've had for a long time. And it worked out well to reinvent it into this structure here. And then entertaining. I love to entertain. So I'm lucky to have this big space now that I've gotten really used to it.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.